Okay, we are going to call to order the Zero Waste Subcommittee meeting on August 3rd at 2:01 p.m. We are in an exciting new room back in the basement. All members of the subcommittee are present. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second. All right, we have a motion to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our motion passes 4-0. Motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion from the public or from the committee? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our motion passes 4-0. All right, next item, we are moving to the solid waste ordinance update. Last time, kind of a quick look at it. This time, I think the thought is to make some changes. I don't know if, Mr. Himbach, you had anything that you wanted to bring up before this, or just come to the committee and we could discuss?
Yeah, we're just ready for your comments.
All right.
Okay.
Wait, it's not the right thing. Sorry, hold on one
Sorry.
minute. There.
No, but Ralph, we're there.
Which one?
You don't have a presentation.
No,
we
it
don't
says
have
the
Oh,
draft
okay.
ordinance on there.
Okay, sorry about that.
Sorry. And we're not live streaming this, correct?
Correct, it's not live stream, but we are recording, it will be posted.
All right, so is there any discussion on the ordinance? I put forward some recommendations, changes in the backup. Zero Waste Gainesville put some forward too. Zero Waste Gainesville also, I think, sent an email this afternoon as well saying they recommended those changes that I put forward as well. If you also want to go through them, thoughts from staff or any other kind of thoughts that you all want to put forward? Walk through my list, if that sounds good, or we can go through the...
Yeah, why don't you walk through your changes,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Sure. So this should be in the backup. We can actually bring this up if you want to. It should be. So there was quite a few changes, but mainly it's some of its clarifications, also just kind of put timelines. The first one's something we actually didn't discuss, but something that I forgot to bring up, but I wanted to kind of get your thoughts of the committee. And some prescription stores or some pharmacies are doing this already, but having recycling for prescription drugs in those facilities that they have to have if they're selling prescriptions. This helps keep prescriptions out of the toilet that then goes into the wastewater system, which is an issue in a lot of cities. So it's one way to keep prescription drugs from being,
So I think going to a question of, are there any pharmacies that aren't already doing it? Do we have any data? Because I don't want to mandate something that's already being done.
I know the Walgreens that I go to has it. I don't know if CVS has it that I've seen.
Sure. There's only a few of them that have it.
Yeah.
Not the majority, by far.
My understanding, I don't know if any legislation has gone through with this, but there was a conversation in the legislature about funding something like this because it is a huge problem, particularly with opioids. So my only, I would love for this to be an option in Gainesville. We just have to make sure. I would want us to work with partners to make sure that because those are controlled substances and that they're being handled appropriately rather than just discarded.
Yeah, and the containers that I've seen are locked things where you can only put it in, you can't grab it. Then they are controlled.
The lost and found lockbox. Okay.
Yeah,
It's a mailbox.
It's in essence like USPS mailbox in essence. So, but it's not USPS mailbox. That's what it looks like a mailbox.
Okay.
So you can't reach into it. And prescription stores already have people who are taking their drugs already because they have. So they just put it into their waste stream they already have. So there shouldn't be much of a. I mean, there will be a cost increase, but they're already having someone take away their old drugs.
They'll just get the cost of the box.
Yeah. Okay, I'm fine. I mean, because that would mean Publix and literally any retail store that sells prescription drugs is going to have this. So
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
And the second one is, if you walk around downtown and some places in town, mainly in the downtown area, you might see a row of like 20 different garbage cans that are all in a row. They're in the sidewalk, they're blocking the sidewalk. I don't think it works well in pedestrian, commercial heavy areas. So the thought is that we create like an overlay district that's saying in these downtown, in these heavy commercial areas, you're not allowed to put those types of containers out on the street. You have to take it to a dumpster, so they're not blocking sidewalks. And I don't think they look that great either, but they also just smell. But in areas of heavy commercial activity, they would have to take it to a dumpster.
So, is there anywhere that would be outside a potential overlay district that is actually doing it?
That is having them kind of in right of ways that are heavy.
So is it a
commercial.
problem for somewhere outside what would an overlay district be?
I mean, some people put them out, like, sometimes people put, like on 16th Avenue, people put their, like, west of 13th Street, people do put them on the sidewalk, but I don't think there's an easy solution to having garbage cans blocking sidewalks in that area.
Yeah, I don't think, so residences do that.
Yeah. If you have any
But we're
commercial.
talking
yes.
about commercial.
It's a commercial, yeah.
I'm trying to envision where businesses are doing that outside downtown Midtown.
I can't think of a place that, have you all seen any other areas of town other than those areas that have that issue?
No. Phil and I have been talking about, downtown a lot and those issues.
Do you mind coming up just so we
Yeah,
can
sure.
capture?
Yeah. My contact sustainability manager. We do see that a lot. We've talked a lot about downtown garbage a lot. So we think the exclusive will help resolve that with frequency. So, but yeah, it is currently a problem.
So I do think it's a problem. I just,
Yeah.
do we need the overlay district, or can we just say don't do it?
We have sidewalk blocking ordinances in different parts of the city code, so
Yeah.
they already exist. So we can enforce them more.
So we're just not forcing it in that area? I mean, you're allowed to put out your trash can on a trash day, but it's still like when you have heavy
Yeah.
traffic every single day, it's probably better to take it into a
Right.
dumpster than to leave it out on the
Yeah.
street. Like New York City does it, but they pick up at 4 in the morning, so they do their trash pickup.
Yeah, that area just had, as you know, has, garbage space issues.
Yeah, I'm just questioning the efficacy of the overlay district. I don't know.
So the reason why is mainly because of residential areas do put their garbage cans on the sidewalk
Yes.
at times.
But I think by saying commercial, you already push out the residential issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there may be some
You mean like apartment or condos?
apartment or stuff like that in that area. Maybe we just say the commercial ones can't do it. I don't know.
Well,
I think,
Because you're saying create an overlay district for downtown and midtown that restricts businesses from putting waste containers in the right of way on sidewalks.
yeah, so I guess it could just be commercial is not allowed to put
or
on
you
the
could just say
sidewalk.
business to omit the apartment condo issue of commercial.
But if we already have ordinances,
There's already ordinance
Yeah.
in place for keeping the right of way, but you're allowed some.
sorry,
Tom Strickland, recycling coordinator, there's already ordinances in place for blocking the right of way. Residents are allowed to do it because they have to bring the cart back within a certain time period. I think the ones you're more concerned with, I believe, is the ones that are left out all the time. And the problem with
Yeah.
finding, to resolving that, we have to provide them an alternative.
Right.
There isn't another place they can take their garbage and they're not allowed to store their garbage inside the facility by health code for long term. So we have to provide them some sort of container in another location that they could use, and there's the space available downtown where there isn't somewhere else they can use, in some cases.
But I know there are dumpsters that are used by multiple businesses downtown.
Right, but you'd have to mandate that they, share a dumpster
They have
and
to
share
share
the
those.
price, and that gets a little more complicated as far as that goes. You wouldn't just say, you could just say, don't do this anymore. We also have to provide them a plan to now deal with their garbage.
So, if I can, correct me if I'm wrong, we have a trash compactor in the Commons, Lot 10, what have you. Can something of like that be provided for the businesses as an alternative, and they be charged to use that instead of putting it out?
So, to address the issue on a larger scale that Michael and I have been talking about, Phil Mann, Assistant City Manager's Office. One of the issues we've had is like over in Lot 4, which is by the federal courthouse building, we have 2 dumpsters in there, but a specific individual leases those, and he only lets people who pays their fair share put in the dumpsters, and several don't. And it's created issues for us. I know before Michael's arrival, we had the same problem in Midtown. I think one of the things that will help with that is when we go to the all-inclusive instead of the different franchisees where the city is responsible for it all, we can then dictate more how this happens. One of the issues we've got to do is find a couple of locations, as Tom indicated, downtown, that's quote-unquote out of the public view, not in the right-of-way, where we can do some of this. I've been thinking long-term, Lot 13, if we don't develop that, which is the one straight across the street from the streetery. It's right outside the state attorney's lot. It's right on Washington First Street. That's also our parking lot. That's one place that maybe we could do something for the southwest with a compactor. And then Lot 4, obviously, that we already have for the southeast. So there's options, but to get to those options, I think the first thing we have to do is get to a single franchise. That way we can better control it, because right now it's by owners and their franchisees. I hope that helps.
Would it be, in your opinion, best to put that one on the back burner until the other steps have been completed?
I think you could do them in parallel.
Okay.
Because our objective with this, and I'm not going to, I guess I will pick on Lucy's, they have absolutely zero out of the right-of-way to store their containers. They cannot be stored inside. So this kind of thing with the single franchise, we can then do those things, in my view. Michael may have a
Yes,
different
I
opinion.
agree 100%.
So hopefully that answers the question.
So maybe, don't need an overlay district, but just saying that we would enforce or do stuff in like January 1st of 2023 would give us enough time to.
Yes.
Is that the date we put for the franchise?
No.
Oh.
We're
But we should
shooting
be able
for
to
October
anyway.
1st of 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, that just gives us plenty of time.
Okay.
Give some time
Good
to.
for me.
And my recommendation also would be that 6 months after we implement the new franchise, because there's going from all these multiple franchisees to a single one, there's going to be some growing pains. So 6 months down the road after that, we may want to readdress some of these issues, make sure everything is going in the way we envisioned it.
So maybe
Make
April 1st,
tweaks as
2023.
necessary.
Would that be 6 months afterwards?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would suggest 6 months.
Okay.
Particularly if the winning bidder is not one of the ones currently serving the Gainesville market. I think we have, what, 5 franchisees? 4 franchisees. So if it's not one of those, if it's somebody that's new to the area, they're going to have the growing pains of moving here as well.
So how are we rewording this one?
I think that businesses would not be able to put waste containers in the right of way would be the, so not just an overlay district, but just that businesses are restricted from putting waste containers, and this would go into force on April 1st, 2023.
Sounds about right. Okay.
The third one is, we discussed, I think we voted on before actually as well, the single-family composting would be implemented citywide by 2024, and the partial rollout would start in 2022. We already have pilots, I think we're already kind of ahead of that. I think we're hearing about that next year, actually.
So the mayor's, Lawrence said he was participating in the pilot. That's cool. I'll be interested to see how that works out personal. Well,
The fourth one is mandatory single-family recycling. It would just be mandatory. I don't think there would be a penalty at this time, but just that you are supposed to do it. I think it's one small step. It could change a few different percentages. I also think it may, if you receive a piece of paper and it says mandatory you have to do it, you're probably more likely to do it even if there isn't a penalty for not recycling.
So,
Mr.
question, is there, a lot of questions, okay. when folks sign up for trash services, do they have to sign up for separate recycling service?
No.
So they get it anyway?
Yeah.
Is there currently a penalty for putting out your recycling bin empty?
No.
Okay. So in theory, it's already kind of mandatory because they give you the bin. And there's no actual penalty attached to it, to not filling the bin.
You are not required to recycle.
Yeah.
You can throw everything in the trash if you want to.
Mhm.
This would say that you are not allowed to put recyclables in the trash. It has to go into recycling bins.
So I question how enforceable that is unless y'all are gonna keep going through people's trash to make sure they didn't throw in like a 2-liter bottle in there. So I agree with the idea. I wish I could do it. I don't know about the enforceability of it unless you attach penalties to it.
So I think, for me, it would be, I think penalties are somewhat difficult to do, but it would, like, when you receive a piece of paper, like, when you're starting your service or something like that, you come to the city and it says that recycling is mandatory. You can say it's mandatory, so it makes it a bit stronger. Or if someone's coming to your, like, putting something on they do catch you kind of leaving stuff out. They say you have to recycle, you have to do this.
There's no actual teeth to that. Like legally, I don't see how you get around it. That's my whole
I mean, I'm okay putting teeth to it if that's what the committee wants to do. I don't know if there's support for that or not.
I don't know if I want teeth to it. I think rather than like, we strongly encourage you, that same education component, like you have recycling, this is what should go in it. But if I got a letter saying, you have to do this, by the way, there's no actual penalty,
We don't say
gonna
that
laugh,
part.
and then take that same paper and put it in the trash and not even the recycling bin. So I think Mr. Trickle wants to say
I can
something.
answer some of this. I did some preliminary research just to make sure. Tom Strickland again, recycling coordinator. There is no mandatory that I could find another municipality or ordinance relating to residential mandatory recycling in the United States. There's recycling at multifamilies that are mandatory, commercial business mandatory. I was not able to find an example of anybody that did a residential. Now, it's mandatory that you offer the service, that it's included with your services, but there is no mandatory ordinance dictating a person's behavior.
I believe like Seattle or Portland does have mandatory single-family residential.
I was
like
unable,
that.
you
No?
do have it
Okay.
for multifamily properties and for businesses, but there is not one for residential. It's included, again, you're required to provide the recycling services, but the person has the option whether, especially in a pay-as-you-throw system, to participate or not participate. I'm willing to pay more for trash because I don't want to deal with recycling. It's not ideal, but people have that option.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm stuck, where I don't think legally we can force them to do the thing.
Commissioner Earl?
Yeah, so when I was recently visiting Lakeland in Neal, Polk County, I was really shocked to see my friends had a letter from their mayor talking about the new recycling program in the city, and it wasn't necessarily you have to do this or else. It was, you are all now participants in citywide recycling for the first time. Here's what goes in your bin. Here's what doesn't. We pay money to do this. I mean, it was a goodwill outreach, and so we already have mandatory participation because you get the bins. But I guess my mind right now is beginning to think about some of the information we got back from that UFCOM study, which was using less authoritarian language to try and get better results. So maybe we just rethink, because we absolutely want people to be recycling. And since the participation is already mandatory, although that doesn't always work out, I mean, the place I just moved into, I have to go and get my own bins. Like, who knows where those bins went? Like, it could have been an Elsa casualty. But let's, in fact, reading all of your recommendations here, Adrian, there's not anything here that I don't agree with. But there seems like there could be some overlap. So if what you're looking for today is to get us to put these into the ordinance, it seems to me like we're going to have to get some feedback from staff and legal to see what's potentially superfluous, like that sidewalk, and or if there's a better way to go about it, right? So, because I don't disagree with any of these goals. Personally, I think it's just a matter of nomenclature for example, mandatory participation versus mandatory separating, right? Two very distinct differences in verbiage, same result. So, but like I said, I don't disagree with any of these goals.
Yeah, and just on the verbiage, this is kind of the
I know.
broad outline. It's not like the legal kind of.
I know. I get it.
Are you done, Commissioner?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Thank you. So a couple things. I love the idea of a letter from the mayor.
Yeah.
I think that's, and this goes back to several meetings, not just to this committee, but commission meetings. We take for granted that people get how this works. We did a great rollout 25 years ago, and now we take it for granted. And people don't know how it works. I mean, every now and then I post on Facebook this is what you can recycle, this is what you can't recycle thing, and people are shocked. People inevitably that I thought knew what they were doing with it will message me and say, I had no idea, thanks for posting this. Plus, just the idea of being invited to participate by the mayor, I think has some very useful connotations. A letter that says, hey, we have this program, you are our participant, whether you thought about it or not, we hope you'll help out. Here's how you use it. That isn't free, but it's relatively low cost, and I think would be well received. I'd love to see something like that. I will also say that my family overflows our existing bins. We don't have, and I know I can get more bins, but the idea of having 4 recycling bins by the side of the road every week, it starts to become a little onerous. And that's our fault, we use too much stuff. But we overflow our bins, and we're not the only ones. So if you're doing a good job recycling, the bins, it's hard to make it mandatory, because if you really are conscientious about it and you have lots of people, more than a couple of people using the service at a residence, it's easy to use more of it than a single orange and a single blue can handle. So I think we're setting ourselves up for some failure by the idea of mandatory. I don't want people to worry that they're breaking the law somehow by not. Well, yeah, I do want to worry about it, but I want the pressure, but I don't want people.
Warmest July in history.
Yeah. So there are multiple issues, I guess, and making it mandatory is taking a bigger bite than we could probably chew.
Mr. Mann?
Mr. Chair, if I may, we've got several different irons in the fire with solid waste, and you all are making some very excellent points. I think part of this is maybe we can start trying to wrap some of these around each other. The biggest one being the conversation we're having on pay-as-you-throw and talking people into downsizing their cart. And we do the education campaign. I like what Commissioner Rowell said about Lakeland. Instead of saying thou shalt, do it from the softer side of you can downsize your cart. The more you recycle, because you can get 4 bins. We'll bring you more bins. I have 2 blues and an orange because that's just my kids go through that much plastic stuff. But if we start wrapping the messages together, I think we'll get a great product, especially when we do the pay-as-you-throw education, that we're looking at some of the referrals that we got from the commission a couple weeks ago. Just my thoughts are, I think you guys are on the right track. We just need to start wrapping some of that stuff together. And I also wanted to share with you a call I took from one of our neighbors of what their staff is doing. I took a call. Our staff went through their recycle bins, took everything out that isn't supposed to be recycled, put it in a plastic bag, put a tag on it, and left it for them. They're like, why didn't they just throw it in the trash? And I explained, well, it's part of the education program. If we just throw it in the trash, you don't learn anything. We leave it in a plastic bag, you come, you go through it, you see what's not recyclable, then you throw it in the trash can. and you understand. So I think we're going to get there, and you guys have some great ideas. It's a matter of starting to wrap things around each other.
Commissioner Sacco?
Before you leave, I'm sorry. Plastic bag?
No, it's paper bag.
Sorry,
They knew where I was going.
the lady that I had on the phone said the plastic bag, so I didn't know, so I just went with her. I was more worried about explaining to her what the intent was than why we had used a plastic bag.
We actually wanted to get the education printed on the paper bag.
That's a good idea.
But our timeline was such that we just needed to get.
Next order. Okay, thank you, Mr.
Commissioner
Mayor.
Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mann, thank you for the gentle reminder that we give you all a lot of work to do. I would rather you say to us, hold on, that's a lot, than take it all and write it down and stew about it in your office and be unable to perform. I would always rather you all say to us, that's a lot,
You certainly have it.
maybe we can get it done, maybe we can't. So, thank you for that.
And to be clear, I wasn't saying it's a lot, but you guys have a lot more on your plates than each department does. And as we go through these things and we look at all these different ideas, to me, it's up to each individual department to, as you guys start giving us suggestions, it's up to us to guide you that we've got this over here, they mesh. Instead of just going, oh, we can't do it all. We can, we just need to match the right things.
And I would rather have that discussion at this level than, you guys walking out thinking, oh, they're giving us unreasonable expectations, because sometimes we do give you unreasonable expectations. And I would rather have the conversation so that we can get the right result than not.
I think this has been a very good conversation in general.
Wonderful.
It doesn't mean we're going to stop giving you ideas.
Still 16 more tries.
Tom Strickland again, to follow up on Commissioner Ward. In Denver, when we rolled out the automated recycling carts, we did have a booklet that was delivered with every cart, and the first page on that was a note from the mayor, Higginlooper at the time. And it was all about joining the program. And that's kind of how we see eventually us going to some sort of cart-based system here, with 2 carts or something. And then that's a great opportunity to roll it out, because you're giving the same message to everybody, all when they're getting their new carts or new recycling program, you're rebranding. That's a greater opportunity. Kind of piecemealing it here and there is a little harder to do.
I like that.
I think we already got an opportunity where everything is changing, so we can start from fresh. And I do like the idea of the letter from there. And we also know when anybody moves, we know their utility service starts, so they have new cans, so we can send them a letter as well. So I'm
is going to get tired of signing all the way. Kidding.
Are we scrapping that one?
Yeah, there's also before, so yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna die on that hill.
The automatic signature box.
No, we don't have enough money. Come on. We're on salary. Just have them sit there and sign. So the next one was we also voted on before, but with multifamily composting implemented citywide by 2024, and then schedule a partial rollout to start in 2022.
So I can't recall, is that going to be ready for rollout by 22? For multifamily?
I think like pilot, like the pilot
Okay,
stage
pilot,
should
yes.
be, yeah. Okay. Yeah, not like a full on. The next one is having businesses must provide recycling and compost, if they meet the minimum required for compost containers next to any landfill waste containers that the business may provide, both in public and indoor and outdoor areas. People do it when it's convenient, and this makes it convenient. Some other cities have done this as well, I think, with good results. Any thoughts on that? The next one is
So
that...
I do have
yeah.
one thought. Is there a minimum size? Because I'm thinking any business that does this, we have some places that are really small holes in the walls, like you go in for a sandwich and you come out. So they're really small. They might have a trash can in the corner. To triple that might be a challenge given their limited footprint. Is there a minimum or a maximum or any parameters that you want to have around the size of those containers?
I would say that,
Equal?
I don't know if equal or not, maybe we can, I don't know if staff has, or staff can, or maybe there's, they get approved after a time, or like if someone complains, we can have, I don't know exactly what the best way to implement that.
Yeah, with these small places, we already have some certain minimums established in our ordinance, so if they don't meet that minimum, they would in effect be exempt from that requirement.
From the compost conversation?
Yeah, so if they weren't putting out a cubic yard of compostables a week, then they wouldn't necessarily need to have that container. Plus, if it's, your type of place you're talking about tends to be a takeout, so that usually gets disposed of somewhere else.
So I don't go outside, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I see these 4 walls in my house, that's it. I'm thinking the Chick-fil-A, under
Right.
the standard. I don't know how many people actually stay inside to eat, but it is open for indoor and outdoor eating
Correct.
to a certain extent. Would they have a small enough footprint because they don't produce the trash there necessarily?
Right, so probably not. I haven't been in there. It's ironic that you mentioned that one. We have a particular problem with our city trash container outside of there. They go next to the Wesley and they eat outside and then bring the garbage over there. So.
Or I'm thinking the Dunkin' Donuts on the 17th floor.
Yeah, and it's a classic case of, where you throw it out is to have the container as opposed to maybe necessarily in the Chick-fil-A.
It's like both, Dunkin' Donuts produces enough food waste, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
The composting, and I'm sure
Yeah.
they produce enough.
Yeah, yeah,
of
absolutely.
all the
Of the actual
plastic
internal.
containers and stuff
Right.
like that.
Not so much
It's not
the
just what
food Okay.
Right.
the customers can create, it's the whole entire
Right.
business creates.
Okay,
But, depending on the business, it could vary.
okay. I just wasn't sure if there was like a set minimum that would be unwieldy for certain places to put in effect.
Just be careful of unintended consequences. You could have businesses that are helping to control litter with trash now, and if they're required to add 3 containers, they decide to remove all their containers. So, say, I don't have room or space for that, so I'm just getting rid of them all. And that way they just clean the tables, because they don't have, trash off of that. They don't let the customers, put the trash away anymore. So you could have, I have a business where I have an outdoor trash container, like a convenience store of my own, and I'm willing to pick that up. But now if I have to add 3 of those and service 3 of those services, I might just decide, forget it, pull all the trash altogether. And it can't happen.
Are you allowed to not have trash in a business?
Yeah, but you can just leave it on like a restaurant, you can just leave
Oh,
all
like
the
clean up
stuff
their-
on the
oh,
table, and then
okay.
somebody comes by and cleans it up. There are restaurants where you don't put the
Yeah.
trash away yourself.
Again, I don't go out. Thank
It's
you.
just, be careful of unintended.
But you could also mandate that they have to provide those too, though.
Good.
With the exceptions Mr.
Yeah.
Heimbach just mentioned.
Because that's what we're doing for certain businesses, is like if you have to have this much pickup for waste if you are this type of business. You have to prove to us otherwise that
Right.
why you should
Okay.
not have that.
I'm comfortable.
So the other one was in the areas that are just employee only, like in office space and other areas like that. Like that's one of the things that frustrates me the most in our city hall, is that we don't really do recycling here. But there is a lot of recycling, and even like cafeterias, like in break rooms and stuff like that, there is waste and stuff being produced that just gets put into the trash. So this would be for kind of customer businesses too.
Sorry,
Yeah.
question. How do you enforce that one? Do we inspect like businesses
Oh,
in
yeah.
that capacity?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we deal with issues either with odors or overflows and things like that all the time.
That would probably be mostly like complaint based, like
Yeah,
a complaint.
mostly
to say-
complaint
We're not
based.
proactive on it.
When we stumble upon it, yeah, but mostly it's, typical of many code situations, we respond to the complaints.
Okay,
Yeah, so.
thank you.
Number 8 is the residents of multifamily units must be provided, or not must provide, must be provided. How about that? So the owners of the owners of the multifamily units must provide recycling containers that can be carried by the residents to recycling pickup areas. This has been shown in studies to have about 5 to 10% increase in recycling rates in multifamily units when they're given a container they can then carry out of their unit to larger ones. I'd say that goes into effect October 1st, 2022, so it gives enough time for places to move forward. And I put in there, like, they may be approved by the city, so if people start using ones that are not good, and maybe I'd probably be good for us to go out there and say, like, hey, these are the types that you should be using and stuff like that. I don't think we have to approve every one, but we can at least give some parameters of these are the types of ones that we like. The next one is for composting. Same thing. It's shown to provide the people who do it more when they're provided that in a multifamily unit, and this would just go into effect whenever that multifamily unit starts to get composting service. This dives a little deeper into the waste container section that I don't think was detailed enough. I think we should move towards designating colors. I don't know, and I guess I don't know if staff has.
Oh, we did agree on that.
We did, but it's not in the ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, we struggled with that, and we didn't include it. It is included in the commercial franchise contract. We just decided to leave that out, but if your wish is to put that in, we can go back and put some very specific colors in there for folks to abide by.
Does that have to be done by ordinance, or can it just be policy?
So with the only thing is with the commercial recycling, it is actually open market, so through an ordinance would make it more universal. Our thought was, primarily your exclusive franchisee is going to have the recycling, so we would work with them to have a different color dumpsters, which gives us a little more latitude than if you have it in the ordinance with very specific colors, and that was really the only reason we've kept it out.
Are there situations outside of that one where we'd have to, outside of the franchisee, are there other areas we'd have to color code? I guess, or other tiers where we'd have to color code? 'Cause
So-
either we handle the trash,
Yeah.
or is this more for like the multifamily?
So we have blue for containers and orange for paper, and we would like, and then maybe green for compost. So we would like to, at least have that in every sector as much as possible.
For like commercial hauling?
Yeah, so if they had a compost container, we would generally want them maybe to have the, in addition to the signage, maybe a color.
Is this meant to be designating the color in all situations, not just those commercial haulers? So like
Yeah, so maybe
inside the building,
having-
inside the multifamily, by the curb, like wherever?
Mine is to have a standardization of lettering or of text or pictures, whatever it may be, across the city, no matter if it's a public, and not the whole container needs to be that color, but it needs to have some kind of signage or some kind of thing on it that is standardized. A lot of cities just have like a little placard that has to be put on to each one, or different lettering or things like that, having a color. When you do that, then it standardizes, people don't have to think anymore. They just know that if it's this color or this lettering, that's what I have to do. I do it the same at my house, I do it the same at my work, I do it the same when I go to a Gator game, because it'd be good to actually have it the same across the University of Florida.
Some places do lids, instead of the full container, but it's done, so.
And the thought was just that there would just be this standardization across the whole entire city, both indoor, outdoor, wherever it is. And that I think would allow people they don't have to think anymore. And that seems to, there are a lot of other cities that have done, Boulder, for example, I was going through there like a couple weeks ago. They have a sign that or like different lettering or pictures that you have to do, and the city provides that kind of what that needs to look like. So it doesn't have to be in the ordinance. We could just say that the city will designate certain things, and they have to, and maybe that's the way to go. It probably would be good to have some latitude, so that if things need to change, we can change them.
If you had an aluminum dumpster, that could be a challenge and things like that. So would be exceptions or situations that wouldn't apply.
I have no problem saying like we will designate colors and signage, but I have a problem putting it in ordinance, because then we'd have to go back through the whole process and take months to change it. Or at least a month at minimum, maybe 2.
So that would be, if we did that was to hold some teeth, right? It would just say that this is now an administrative decision.
Administrative decision with maybe
Something you would just
preferring,
policy.
maybe a preference of some colors would be
Yeah.
okay. or some latitude for exceptions.
Because I was going through other ordinances, and they did just say that, I think they didn't specifically get into it in the specifics, but it said that the city will designate certain things that you have to do with
Yeah.
garbage cans. So that might be the best way to path to go.
Yeah, I like that.
But this has to be used for all of them, all garbage cans, indoor, public, just so
Right.
that's standardization.
Yeah, but then it leaves it down in the department
Yeah.
instead of in an ordinance, so they can
Yeah.
change accordingly.
Yes, I think that's probably, we spelled it wrong in there.
Which green? We meant a different green.
Okay. So changing kind of that the city will designate colors and signage and standardization for all trash cans? Is that, or? Any other thoughts on that portion? So this, number 11, is kind of trying to make it a little harder for people who use single-use plastic bags. If you are going to use them, then you've got to provide recycling for them and have it publicly available. I think it's only like legally thing we can get into. We can mandate this, so
Can those bags even be recycled?
they can. They're actually very recyclable. They're actually one of those recyclable things out there, if they stay clean.
Publix keeps the bin for them,
Yeah.
but almost nobody else does.
So my question is, because I get into this every time I like go get food, they're like, here you go, we put your one takeout box in a plastic bag, and I cry, because that's how they hand it to me. Would that restaurant then also be required? Okay. Well, maybe they'll just stop doing it then, because it seems very inconvenient to do it.
That's what I'm trying to do with that, is just make it as difficult as possible within the means of our law. There are ways that you don't have to provide that if you don't use it.
Okay.
Incentives and disincentives,
Yes.
not making it hard, but incentives and disincentives.
Okay.
It's disincentivizing polluting our environment.
Yes.
The same thing as the next one is for the expanded polystyrene. We can't mandate if they're using it or not, but we can mandate that they provide recycling materials for that.
Accessible recycling for the expanded polystyrene.
Oh,
not
yes,
for-
yeah,
Someone copy pasted.
maybe.
Again, the extent to which it's recyclable is a serious question, but.
Yeah.
It won't be tossed out in the trash, hopefully.
And also, there's a cost to having to provide another recycling option for them too.
Yeah, I mean, I would just pipe in that markets do exist for the foam. There's not a lot of infrastructure in this area. I've taken a bit of a look at it. So getting that quantity up, whether that creates a new business or whatever, I don't know. But that's the current situation of the market today for polystyrene.
And we
Doesn't
could
really
mandate that
exist.
in our commercial contracting that the city would pick those up too, we could say, right? And we would set the cost.
Oh, yeah, anyone, so that's really not the problem, is the collection as so much as getting it to market. So it would need to be densified in some manner and then shipped. So that's the current status. Like down in Orlando, Dart's got a facility with a major styrofoam manufacturer. They collect it and do all sort of things. It's just that this market doesn't really have a lot of polystyrene recycling going on or the infrastructure to do it.
But I guess the question is, we can set the rates for what that pickup is.
Yeah, we can do it. I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Something you should keep in mind is we can set the rates for that too. Incentivize, desensitize those uses. The next one is the city would create a reuse program to help residents and businesses with reusing waste that's still useful and finding organizations who will take that waste. Thoughts with this would be in place by July 1st, 2023. To the point that our city doesn't have a lot of resources, by that point we should be kind of in a better place and spreading things. So this is just kind of the city helping our residents with reuse and maybe like an education program, I think, or something like that, but just kind of another step in that direction. And just kind of setting a date so that it actually does happen. So, Commissioner Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as facilities become available, because the old printing company on Walnut Road is in the process of.
Did they actually sell it, or did they buy it?
Yeah, they bought it, they're fixing it, they
Yeah.
painted and cleared out and everything.
Yeah. So they'll be up and running soon there. And I'm trying to think of a way, I like this. I don't want to put the onus on the city to do it. But maybe the city will partner with with local organizations to help engage the community in
The reuse economy?
yeah, in proactive reuse, reuse economy, however circular economy, whatever the right phraseology is. But I don't want to put the onus on city departments to create a program that is going to have to be a partnership anyway. Let's just make sure it gets done by working with the existing folks who are pretty good at helping people do that, just amplify their voice a little bit.
So I was worried about it's a great idea, I love the intent. I worry about the vagueness of, here's a phrase and I would like you to build a program for it. You have 2 years, go. Because I agree with Commissioner Ward, like it would have to be a partnership unless we clear out all of Public Works to then store stuff and create a whole separate program like UF does, and I think even we do with some of our surplus materials, and make that a full-time occupation for a lot of staff. I don't see how we do it alone. So I'm more comfortable with some kind of partnership where we help contribute to the program, we help with education or programming or whatnot, but it is not a city, an exclusively city program.
And just to be clear, that was, my thought was it would just be, we would be kind of educating and helping and not
Words
actually
matter.
being.
Words matter.
But to an extent, yeah, so it would be more into that effect of an education kind of, how do we, not being the entity that actually would do all the work, but would
To
be there as
supplement
a,
those efforts?
be a resource there, hey, we can help connect, or like please, like it's part of one of the options we provide, it's like, hey, we want to reuse, well, here are the people who can help you reuse things and stuff like that.
To work with local organizations to help our neighbors engage with the reuse economy.
Get it?
Yeah, no, the only thing I would add is that, we essentially are already doing all this. We talked to the repurpose project a lot, we're actually going to have them do an analysis of bulk that gets set out at the curb to determine a couple things. One, the value of that material that gets placed out at the curb, and the volume of that material to determine if weekly service really is necessary. And so the question is, do our neighbors kind of know the value of that stuff and they're already sending it somewhere, or is stuff at the curb have value and we should have a different way of collecting it? So we're doing that, and as you know, also in our franchise agreement, we have a clause in there that they have to help us and participate in diverting materials during move in and move out. And what was the third thing? Oh yeah, we have our online recycling guide that people can go to if they have materials to dispose of. So we recognize this is an important part of zero waste, and we are doing it now.
Can you email the recycling guide to me?
Yeah, we'll email the link to you. Yes.
I'm just gonna spam all my neighbors.
So yeah, it doesn't have to be a certain date, or if you already are doing it, it's just kind of that we need to make sure that we're moving towards reuse, and that needs to be part of what we are promoting in the city and moving towards. Number 14 is actually getting to the reuse, and mainly to the move-in, move-out periods, which are incredible amount of, that definitely is waste that has value, because I used to make a lot of money every summer going out and picking up out of garbage cans.
Taking all the microwaves, all the mini fridges.
Microwaves, all right, from I have a bike, a truck bike, I have golf clubs, lots of different things I've found, and I would hold them for whenever Martina moved out, and then hold them in couches, and then sell them in the winter, make a few $1,000s every summer. But it was illegal to do that.
Stop talking.
statute of limitations.
You know this is being recorded, right?
Yeah, statute of limitations is over. I'll go down to some martyr for zero waste. The city wants to put me in jail for that, that's fine. So this, I know we talked about a pilot program, but this would kind of put into terms kind of a stricter limit for apartment complexes of over 25 units, which I think kind of hit a standard of a relatively large who do have infrastructure to be able to do this. And these numbers I'm open to changing. When the 20% of units are turning over in 1 month, so that means that there's a decent amount that are turning over, so that and then they would have to put together a plan that, in the beginning the city would have to check, or I don't know exactly how that worked, but they have a plan. They would have to partner with another agency or another place to be able to take the useful waste, and they would have to provide a space for like that useful reuse economy stuff that could be taken somewhere. So that's the thoughts of that, is to actually put into practice. One of the areas we have a ton of good stuff that's valuable. Thoughts on Commissioner Sacco?
So my question is on the practicality. Because the way I'm going through this is, in theory, you know when your tenants are going to move out. They either renew or they don't renew. But you could also, if you're doing month to month and something happens and everybody wants to move out, or a considerable amount of folks want to move out, that's not planned for. So are you in violation because you have no idea? Are you going to require every multifamily dwelling to have one in place, regardless of probability that this will happen?
So
I can point out 10 buildings that I know this
Yeah.
will happen at.
I would say this is more for the student apartment complexes that have July, whatever, the very clear dates
That's
where
August, yeah.
a huge amount of people move out, everything is thrown away because they're all moving to a different city. So how we write it to places that are
To
maybe month to
target
month
those.
and target the ones where I think you see a huge amount of just stuff that's good, bought last year, it's still good, useful life.
So how do you target without saying, yeah, you serve students, you're the problem? Which I know is what we all want to say. But how do you target without saying that?
I don't know, that's up to the legal team to regulate it.
Okay,
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise I'm, given that, like,
Yeah.
how do you handle month-to-month tenancies? Because some people hold over and you just don't know. And I don't know, this is me thinking, devil's advocate. You could incentivize. It might be cheaper for you to say like, hey, we'll give you a month-to-month discount if you delay for like another month, if you delay for a week, and that way it's no longer in that period. If anybody hears this, here's an idea. But there could be ways around it. That said, I don't know if less than a year is enough time to come together with that plan, because outside of the repurpose project and a couple of thrift shops that are really good, I don't know how many options they would have. And so if you have, I'm going to bully the standard again. If you have the standard or the continuum or the
Standard
budget-
actually doesn't, if all their furniture is, they're furnished, so they actually don't have as much stuff
Okay,
thrown
fine.
away.
Oh, the continuum has most of,
So you gotta stop picking on that guy.
the continuum does too. I'm trying to think, I think the Bartram is also, okay, so you just have a student apartment building. You have 50 units, a chunk of them move out. That's a lot to dump on any one. Like, you're gonna have 20 microwaves. What am I gonna do with 20 microwaves or like 10 mini fridges? That's a lot of bulk and volume for any one program to hold, and a lot of those thrift shops can't hold 20 mini fridges. They're gonna say like, yeah, we'll take 2 or 3, we know we can get rid of those, but I don't think we have the infrastructure in place to mandate it that soon.
So I think
Or for people to have only like less than a year to figure out that plan.
So I think that's a fair point. I think maybe it might be better to have a rolled out approach where we start in the beginning with the largest ones, saying like if you have over 250 units or something like that, because those ones are probably, it's easier they have people on staff who can help and do the stuff. So we start with the largest ones, and then maybe have a multi-year. So
Yeah, I don't mind something like
in
that.
2022, it starts with places that have, I don't know, there's some that have, I think, 500 units or something like that. So we
What
target
is
through there.
500 units?
They're nice, like 250 units. I'm not sure. I think we can look and see what might be, and then it would just go maybe through 2025, then it finally gets down to the 25. So there is a rule, and then also that would allow for the infrastructure to be built for it as well. Because I think you might see other people not from Gainesville who will be coming in to do the service. I bet you will see people from Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa who will come and take this materials as well and take it back because it does have a value if our market gets saturated.
I'm gonna hear from garage any day.
I think the problem is sometimes the time span, because you give a month period, but you could have, a lot of the times, 50% of the units moving out on a weekend.
Yeah.
And the staff to move and control that, and then you also have to have indoor storage space. Because a couch that may be perfectly usable, once it gets rained on, it's no longer a reusable item. So you have to have indoor storage space, and you have to be able to stack it up or provide it, and it starts to get exponentially large. Right now, I'm not saying it's good, but some of these apartment complexes, they'll have out, I want to say the Baja Beach Club, maybe that one, that's not right, I don't think, Beach Club maybe. They'll
Cabana
have
Beach?
12 roll-off containers during move-out. Well, that's stuff that's already crammed in a little bit and broken down. You start taking 12 roll-offs worth of material and spreading it out, that's a lot of indoor storage space that somebody would have to provide. I'm just saying that would be an issue for a lot of the properties.
No, that's a fair thing. I think one of the things though is too is not, I don't think it has to be indoor, but you could do like a shipping container and stuff like that just out of the rain as well.
That's
Is
a
it-
lot of shipping containers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know,
I don't control their space, their parking, or anything like
Yeah.
that, so every apartment, the only thing I've learned is every apartment complex is entirely different from the one next to it.
yes.
So,
That's why I thought they have to create a plan for it because everyone is different. And I'm not saying this is easy to do, but I think there's a huge, and maybe we can have a longer rollout or have some kind of rollout, but this would make a big difference of taking stuff that really is useful, like
No.
has a real life to it.
I agree.
Yeah.
My preference right now is to pull this one aside to work on further. Because I don't want to stall. This is a great thing, and I want to see it happen. I think East Lansing does it in partnership with Michigan State. But they have a giant warehouse that they dedicate to it. But I don't think we have enough info right now on the practicality of it. But yeah, so if you don't mind, I'd like to pull this one out to tease further
Okay.
and not have staff eat us. Usually that one.
They love saving waste.
Yeah,
It's our waste stream. This is not.
Yeah, but Mr. Man just told us. We told him it's okay to say no and that we're wrong.
Commissioner Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just here thinking about the ways that all this can work as a reuse. How the city can participate in engaging neighbors in a reuse economy. And not doing so in a hit and miss kind of approach, but really having a plan for how this can work. And there's no question that we will put a whole lot less into the landfill if we can actually engage a reuse economy. Couches that, you know, as you say, once they sit out in the rain for a day or two, as they do at the most intense time of the year for turning them, it's really inconvenient how that works. But if we can find a way to get ahead of that, you know, if the apartment complex has to engage and let the person who's about, because they know who's leaving
Yeah.
and who's about to leave their couch by the curb, the couch, for instance. If there's some kind of registry, or registry's the wrong way to think about it, but a way to, you know, to notify the city or the city's representative, you know, be it, you know, repurpose project or whomever, hey, this is happening. Or maybe there's just a Craigslist kind of swap meet sort of thing out there that, you know, you're required to post and let people know.
There's actually a Gainesville curbside.
Oh, wow. Does that exist?
Yes.
Cool. So a way to engage all that together and make sure that it is an organized process, that it doesn't use a lot of city resources, but that costs us less money because we're not getting billed for the tonnage, and uses a lot less space in the landfill, and repurpose where somebody like that ends up making some money off of it. It actually works everywhere, rather than saying, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And a lot of that falls then on city resources that doesn't achieve what it needs to achieve. So I wanna do all this, but I wanna do it separately.
So having multifamily complexes they would have to take care of it. They have to go find someone who will take the stuff. They are the one who is responsible for finding an entity to take the stuff that's reusable. Because I think I don't want the city when you start getting the city involved in that process, I think when it's all happening in 72 hours, there's no way the city could handle that. But if the apartment complex then has to go contract out and find someone, and I think you will see people from all surrounding areas come to service this.
Yes,
Short period of time.
No question.
Yeah.
There's value in all this. But I really would like us to do I would like us to work with Repurpose and whoever else is a part of this, as well as the apartment industry, and say, how do we do this in such a way that we really get the sweet spot on all of it, and do a program that works for most of us and is then a national model that other cities can copy. Because every university community in America has the same problem. And same opportunity, because it is a huge opportunity. It creates a market that isn't an overloaded market. I think lots of people win, and different segments of the community win, if we treat this as a separate package of ideas that we work with the community to put together.
Commissioner Sacco?
Have you guys talked to MSU about it? About their program? So Michigan State has a really good program up in East Lansing, similar to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, but I feel like they got space,
Ours seems
right?
way more extreme.
Yeah,
Space and
it's space.
on campus program.
Yeah, so it's not the city, but Commissioner Santos probably knows better than me. How much time were you holding on to those microwaves before you sold them? I mean, I think that's
months.
a big part of the issue.
A couple months.
Okay, yeah, so,
Tell us about the gray market.
Some of these you put out right away, and you gotta clean the couches, you gotta make them presentable, and a
Yeah.
little little paint.
so that temporary space, I think, is what the feedback we're gonna get from the industry. So focusing on how we can, either the city or whoever can provide that 8 weeks of space is key, I think, to having a comprehensive program.
Again, I don't go outside. Do we have warehouses?
Every city department is looking for more space.
No, not the city. I meant like
Oh.
in industrial areas, or because the only large empty space I can think of is the GRU up on 13. That's the only great plane of space I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's out there. I'm not a real estate expert, but I'm
Okay.
sure it's
There's
out
lots
there.
of,
Okay.
there's space.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think it has to be the city's job to
find
find it.
the
space.
When you create something, the market will then find a way to make it work.
Okay.
They'll put on a semi-trailer and take it down to Orlando or something like that, and sell everything down there too. But it's much higher. Because the market there probably will be a saturated market here if you do it.
Okay.
If you try to sell everything that comes out here. But yeah, pulling that aside and talking about it sounds good.
There's a reuse economy that has its own gravity and its own
Yeah.
stuff going on. So-
But I do think it needs a little bit from the city
Yes.
to set
Yes.
minimums, because when the minimums are set, then the market actually comes.
If we help them coordinate it, everybody wins.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am?
This is more of the, still me again, this is more of the personal side than my stepdaughter has each year while she was at UF upgraded her furniture in her apartment
You got that.
through this Gainesville curbside app. I'm trying to find out what the name of it is right now. But she monitors that, and when somebody posts a couch, they go look at it. If it's better than the one they got, they take it. So it's a good grassroots thing. The city, as Commissioner Ward is saying, could probably jump in and promote and make it a little better, or a little more known, through comms and marketing, promote it. And because usually when stuff gets posted on there, when she posts up on there, it disappears like that. So just making it better known, and it would go to further this goal. Because reuse is one of the big R's we really want to
Yeah.
expand upon.
So the next item is getting into reuse as well. Montgomery County does something similar to this, that there'd be a day to, not just, I just kind of throw this out there.
Yard sale day?
But in essence, where you can put all your stuff out there that you want to do, and that people, I live on 8th Avenue, I put something out on the street, it's gone within a few hours. Not every street is like that in the city, but if people knew that, like, for this day, that maybe this portion of the city, this is the day you put everything out, and then everyone who does go pick up stuff, they drive around, they know it's still legal to pick it all up and everything like that. And then the city would pick up this kind of large waste afterwards if it is not picked up. I don't know about the,
I worry about the cost afterwards. So you're gonna put out your Great Aunt Harriet's like really ugly couch outside.
I mean, we do
Had
pick
somewhere.
up now, we do large,
Yeah, but imagine that times 1,000.
Yeah, no, it's.
So that's where my concern, it's like,
Yeah.
well, I can either get rid of it today, someone will take it, or it's still not my problem. And I just worry about our cost when someone says, no, that's an ugly couch, no wonder no one's ever
Yeah.
taken it, and then we're stuck hauling. So that's.
But we're still stuck on, we take the stuff for free anyway.
We will, yeah. But I feel that the problem, I guess my concern
At
here
one
is,
time.
like, it's all at one time, because everyone says, well, might as well do it today, they're not gonna bring it back in.
I think the way you make that work long-term, and again, I want to be careful about the cost to the city here, but the way you make it work long-term is you pick a day a month, that the first Monday is swap day, and you create that culture. And it's once a year, it's going to have minimal results. But if the fourth Friday or whatever, every month is swap day, there's opportunity then, but it also gets a lot of stuff left out and junks up the city to some degree. But that's, I think that's the way it works, is if it's a regular thing.
Yeah.
So I have commercial trash, so I don't know this. I don't know a lot of things. I know there's a specific day that you can put out large bulk items. When is that? Or is it whenever?
No, it's weekly right
Oh.
now.
Okay.
And, as I mentioned, one of the things we wanted to do with the repurposed project is kind of analyze, is that too much and too broad? And so if one section of town could only put out like on that day, and then, right, you could have people come around, grab it, and then maybe there's a time frame where maybe some of the thrift stores could follow behind that, and then maybe the next day or the second day, whoever
the
comes
actual
around and
hauling.
collects it for disposal.
Yeah, I
So
think
that-
I like that approach better.
Yeah.
I don't want it then sitting out for another week.
Right.
So like we do it the day after the
Right,
hauling.
right, so
And
hey,
so it sits there forever.
congratulations, you got great stuff, it's gone, your other stuff isn't so great, you gotta wait 2 days, something like that.
Yeah, I think I prefer something similar to that. Just there's a whole table set that's been sitting outside, outside of my complex, and I've been seeing it for a while. For at least like 4 days of rain. So I'm like, great, all the wood's ruined. So that's where I worry about like the timing and making sure it lines up with something like hauling or the assessment you're doing with the repurpose
Yeah.
project. So I'm happy to explore that further. 'Cause I don't know if that goes into ordinance right now, or if it's still
I
like
think that rolls back
exploration.
into the whole reuse
Okay.
plan.
But no, okay, I think we can pull off 14 and 15 and discuss them in
Okay.
the next meeting or something like that. Yeah. All right, the next one, number 16, gets into, so in the ordinance, it talks about encouragement of the hierarchy, which I think is a good start for most businesses, but grocery stores, I think, are different. They produce a lot of good food that's not sellable, that is still, that can be used by members of the public who are hungry. And they also produce it in, I think, a significant quantity that it makes sense for them to have like a connection directly with a grocery store and stuff like that. So this would, this is similar to what France passed a few years back, I think 2016, where grocery stores are mandated to go through the food hierarchy. They cannot destroy, and a lot of food, good food, gets destroyed, it's thrown in the trash can. They are mandated, they cannot do that. They have to sign up or work with some kind of entity that will take that food and deliver it to, or not deliver it, but take it to give it to the, to members of the public who are heart hungry. I think it's be a good step, and there'll probably be some pushback from the grocery stores, but I think it's well worth it because it helps solve multiple needs in our community. I don't know what your thoughts are on something. So it would only affect, I mean, we have 20-something grocery stores in the city, I think, probably.
Yeah, and I've been looking into it a little bit. A lot of the Publix and Whole Foods are already involved in some sort of donation, so anything they're not doing, I'm sure they could do. So
Yeah.
it's already happening, and restaurants too are also donating a lot of the prepared food, and that is sent directly to families in need. So the community already has a lot of that going on, so it's a good thing.
So I know Publix, for example, they throw a lot of stuff away there too. So I think.
Yeah, they got so much, it's,
Yeah.
but if I think
So
it'll
there was a
keep
mandating
people a
that they
little
had to
better in
do it,
mind,
and-
yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts on that one?
So, yeah, I like the concept a lot because we don't want food going into the landfill if at all possible. Probably the greatest source of food going into the landfill is grocery store, almost certainly. The question is, and this sounds like heresy, but it is, what do they do with it? Yeah. Is the charity a triage where they say we need this much today of this food for people in need, this much can go to animals, this much, because it can wait longer, and this much is going to go on to a landfill anyway?
I would need a little more in-depth investigation, but a lot of it is going directly to like the Florida Harvest, and then some of it is going directly through intermediary, like volunteers delivered to homes that can't be stored. So it is definitely happening, and the extent it's happening, how much is getting thrown out, that I don't know yet.
So what I'm saying is, if we require this, I think the supply is going to outstrip
Possibly.
what's deliverable pretty quickly.
So,
And it sounds bad to say that, but I think it's a reality.
Well, non-perishable can always be shipped somewhere else. It's the perishable that could be a challenge.
so I think to answer that question, if they have it goes through the hierarchy. So
Right.
food that's edible, if they have to try to find someone who will take the food. If the food banks say, hey, we don't want this food, like there's too much, then the next hierarchy is, well, there's animal places. If there's animal places that don't want
Right.
to take it, then the next step is going in the compost, which should be an unlimited amount of go into the
Exactly.
compost. So that's kind of the hierarchy that they would have to do on a large scale of grocery stores. So it's not like it's an individual apple here or something like that, but they would already have partners in place. Okay, here's our partners who will take edible food, here's our partners who will take animal food, and then we'll just put it into the city's compost.
So once the system exists, I think it can run fine.
Yeah.
Getting the system existing is going to be a rough year. I mean, a really rough year with a lot of missteps. I don't know how to avoid that.
Right.
And that it is better to have that year, 6 months, 18 months, whatever, of missteps and get it right than to continue to throw everything in the landfill. But it is going to be right. I mean, there's no question it is going to be a right experience.
I mean, we could put something in there that start with the largest grocery stores first and move down so that it's not like, I don't know, grocery stores that are over 75,000 square feet or 50,000 square feet or something like that, and then some of those kinks can be worked out somewhat, and then it kind of goes down from there. I mean, those are options to try to make it less. I hear you on that. I think that could be a large impact.
Yeah.
How do you lessen the impact on so the infrastructure can catch up to the supply, so it's not all just at one time.
So I guess and we've done this before with some other stuff, to varying degrees of success. You put the date out there that a mandate is going to go down, that like from on whatever date the mandate's coming down, and whether it's, 2023 or whatever, and then we engage with Publix management and Walmart management and the other big stores and say, this is gonna happen. Don't be surprised when it happens. Why don't you sit down with us and the food banks and figure this out now? And try to work through it before the date. Because it won't happen without a date. I think that's absolutely true. If we don't have a mandate date, then it'll never get done. If it were going to get done, it would have already. The market doesn't want to do it until the market is forced to do it. But the economies go into play once there is a mandate set. I'm just talking myself through it. I'm not sure. I'm for it, I just want it to, I want it to work and not get, I want to run the ship onto the sandbar and it never happened. Don't lie.
Those are all fair points.
It might be advisable to hear from the food banks themselves
Yeah.
on what their capacities are. Maybe their ability to handle perishable items versus non-perishable, it is limited. And maybe they can't do any more than what they're doing, or only a little bit more than what they're already doing. And so we may be maxed out. I'm not saying we are maxed out, but there's a possibility, because they work on a very thin budget, food
Yes.
banks do. And maybe they don't have the money to hire more people to deal with more food. I don't know.
Right, and maybe the answer to keeping larger quantities out of the landfill is finding a way to help them fund more workers or more refrigeration units or whatever. Maybe that ends up being cheaper and better, certainly more desirable, than straight to the landfill. So understanding the lay of the land is going to be very important, and helping guide the system through rather than saying, y'all work it out. Because I don't believe the market does a very good job when we say just work it out.
So I agree with Mr. Strickland that having that conversation, I think one conversation with groceries and then one conversation with food banks and other programs, and then a third one with everyone in the room. One to let you know, one to ask capacity, and then one to maybe facilitate. And, sorry, Mr. Mann, we're just throwing all the stuff that staff has to do. But I think that's the most beneficial use or move that the city can make after we set a mandate, cool, but then how do we actually make sure it works along and not get to January 1st and it's Armageddon. So I think that might be the best thing, to have those 3 conversations at least, and then see what else we could do to facilitate. But that would be my ask. If we go through with this, that we have those 3 conversations, 2 conversations, facilitate the third, and then kind of leave them to it. And before Commissioner Ward spoke, I think that the other one was, do we have a whole list of all the food banks in the city? I don't want to say registry, but is there one living document of list of their information?
Somebody does, somebody.
Someone with a lot of free time has done that.
Continuing care might
I mean,
have. Florida.
I think we have the big ones. I think
Yeah.
there's some smaller operation, charity that would, a church that does it on the side or something that we may not know about or something.
Well, I think having that kind of list to be in that conversation, here you go, but we mandated this, but here's some info to get you started. And then letting either through the continuum or other programs, hey, we are looking for those food banks because we are going to mandate this. We would like to add them to this list, so it's all in one place. Since we are the ones mandating it, I think we should have a list as well.
I don't want to point it out really, but I feel obligated to. Sometimes, I know it doesn't sound right, stores want to throw away or compost food rather than give away, because if they give it away, that means people aren't buying it. So, we had an issue with that. We were recycling Christmas trees in Denver, and then one charity said, well, can we take the trees that they sent to the place to recycle and give them away to people who don't have Christmas trees? And it sounded like a good idea. We started to do
Yeah,
it.
they should buy them.
But then the lots said, wait a minute, You know, you're giving away the trees that we're giving you to recycle.
Right.
You're costing us money, and so it got a little funny.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and those are all real things. Another participant in those conversations, every one of those conversations has got to be city cops. We need to be telling the story. Because what we don't want is a last minute freak out that gets reported.
That we never told the grocery stores.
Right. The story's got to be told, because this is a good story. This is a really good story. And we ought to be telling this story. We are trying to do something to meet needs, as opposed to, this is not, just pie in the sky, wouldn't it be cool if? No, we're working on meeting a variety of needs here, and we need to tell that story.
And this would also be, I think, it's very popular with the public as well.
Yes.
Programs like this are very popular, and I think
Yeah.
will help carry the ordinance as well as being part of it and so on. The next one was similar to just another one of just creating a program. It doesn't have to be an ordinance, but just wanted to, I think we've talked about it, so we can kind of maybe cut that, but just that we are helping and being there as a resource. So we can cut that one. The number 18 is that the businesses must train their employees on proper sorting once per year, and the new employees must be trained within 30 days. I think that's one of the big issues. People just, they don't know. I know we've had that issue here at the city. Some employees at parks just threw a bunch of recycling into the trash can, and I think they didn't know. So I think just, it doesn't have to be very long. Maybe we create a minute video that, or something like that. It's pretty easy. If we have all the same colors, it's easy for people to learn. Commissioner Ward?
So I think the way to do it is to just go overboard on recycling training in general. Businesses are not going to do a lot of training for the people. But if we make sure that when the employee walks into the business on their first day, they're already pretty aware of how recycling works, and they know that, oh, there's the bin, and they know what color goes in what already, they're going to participate. They're going to do that. I don't know that our mandating a training program is going to be successful. I think there's probably more resentment that comes with that than there is, let's be a part of this. I think we just got to train everybody who lives and works in the city, make it inescapable how this stuff works, and it'll work.
So more than resentment, I think it'll cause more work. So just for the rental ordinance, for example, to prove that you've done everything you have to submit all this paperwork or keep it on file. So every time a restaurant gets a new employee, they have to submit like paperwork to the city. It's going to have
Oh,
to
no, they don't have to submit it.
Well, then how do you enforce it? Like, how do I even know you did it? Hey, Bob, did you do the video? Yeah, I watched it. What did it teach you? How to recycle?
I think we just make the message inescapable in the community, and that meets all the needs for recycling, in business, at home, everywhere. But it does require us really working hard to get the message out there.
I'm with Commissioner Ward. I'd rather hammer down on everyone as a general blanket.
Well, the city just spends money instead of on business. That's what you get.
Communications is.
No,
You're going to spend more money chasing the business.
Communications is my handle. Everything works. So.
The next one is, so I've run into this issue when I was at a property and I worked there, of the property owner not providing space for landfill waste recycling and then composting as well. Worked in a tower building downtown, and they just had a trash can. So they didn't have any place for recycling, there was no place for it. There's a lot of other issues with that waste container as well. So I think this is more for, because we're going to start mandating, I don't know this is how we mandate, but if you were having shared space, like, so there are some buildings where everyone uses the same containers, it's on the property owner to have to provide that space and not just on those businesses, because they can't force the property owner to do that. I don't know if it's in the ordinance now or not, or I just want to make sure that businesses don't get screwed over for a mandate, that they won't, the property owner won't give me the space for it, won't give me a container to place it in, something like that.
Yeah, right, so some places, right, the landlord goes ahead and takes care of that, and then other places, each individual business has to do that. I don't know if there's any specific ordinances in trash cans, like in a retail location. I'd have to talk to Sustainable Development probably about that. Because you were talking about maybe like outside containers, outside of business.
It's on, like, so if they're offering shared containers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That they have to find I worries in the ordinance that we are ordering, the ordinance is focused on the businesses who's creating the trash.
Right.
But if part of their lease doesn't allow them to have trash containers or recycling containers because of their lease.
Yeah.
Then that property owner needs to be able to provide space so that they.
Absolutely, and that's what we would look to as part of the ordinance.
Okay.
It's in there, yeah.
And then number 20 is actually expanding the cubic yard. I think that might be too small, or too large, of an amount. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that they can, like paper towels and other stuff like that, just having composting everywhere, and they have to prove that they don't create any compost, because there is a lot of compost. It's not just food waste, but there's a lot of other things that can be composted beyond just food waste. So that was just kind of, everyone has to do it. You have to prove that you really don't create any.
Yeah, no, I know, the food remnant napkins, they're very excited about getting. I don't know about maybe like if someone was cleaning with paper towels and stuff, that they'd be so eager to take that in as for compostables. But we could ask the industry.
Because
see
you
what
have,
they
for
say.
example, all their bathrooms, all their bathrooms
Yeah.
are compostable
Yeah.
in there too. So
Okay.
I don't know if our cubic yard is.
It's too generous?
It's too generous, yeah. And just saying that, definitely since we are going to be starting to provide exclusive service and stuff like that, we can set prices for low amounts of compost probably pretty cheaply.
It's cubic yard per month, week, day?
Per week.
Okay.
It's like two large garbage carts.
It's kind of a lot.
I mean, it is, but I guess depending on like your business. So like I'm thinking a law firm, like how many paper towels are we gonna use? But okay, no.
I don't know. I just wanted your thoughts. Y'all have to agree to.
So, no,
Yeah.
I think as much as anything else, it's an engagement, education thing. And people don't know what's compostable and what's not. Everybody knows that leftover food is compostable, they get that. Everybody, most people grasp that. But beyond that, I think you find a very low understanding community-wide of what's compostable.
So my thought with this is really the standardization of, you don't have to think, so everywhere you go has composting, everywhere you go has recycling, everywhere you go has trash. So you really don't have to think anymore, because there will be places that maybe don't meet the minimum, but they don't have composting, so now someone's saying, well, I just got to throw this in the trash, but then it now goes against what we've been training people to do, or educating them to do, or, I don't know.
So, but you want people to say,
Where's the compost?
right, you want people asking the manager, where's your composting? You know, not necessarily walking up with a handful of, but say, hey, I didn't have a place that, I couldn't find the composting, so I put it in the garbage. Where do I look next time? And the manager says, I don't know. But maybe if they get asked that often enough, they pass it on to the boss. And
They said the market doesn't work that way.
I don't think the market works at all. If the market works out composting, we are we have to create a system that the market can then respond to.
Yeah.
One of the opportunities here is to try to lead by example of the city
Yes.
and start figuring out ways we can show this works internally with our city offices and city facilities and composting. And right now, we don't do that. We can start to expand that out, but we're going to have to.
You mind come up to the microphone? So sure that.
It's harder with the mascot as well, but yeah, it's just setting by example that these composting in various areas and doing that. We'd have to sort of say, hey, look, we realize it's not gonna be easy, but we tried it at the city and it worked, and it, worked here and so forth. So I think we could try to see, internally how it works.
What's the committee's thoughts on having like a date, like maybe saying 2025, all businesses have to do it, or
I think that's plenty.
or 2024, like we start with a cubic yard and then move to everyone having to do it and just having it at a certain date. So it gives time for people to get used to it, but also then moves us towards that direction. I don't think, if we don't put dates, I don't think it will happen.
So I'm fine doing that, but I look forward to the larger commission discussion about that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
who does the commission, how much direction does it take for the city organization to do that directly? Because I know it doesn't take an ordinance.
It doesn't take an ordinance, it takes a little bit of funding, because there's gonna have to be some containers purchased and service contracts arranged. So something like that would have to be approved to enable us to do that.
Is that through the commission, or is that a Lee thing, or,
You have to do it with all the charter officers.
Yeah.
so, commission thing?
Yeah.
Dang it, okay.
So when we put these together, this was kind of like a no contest fight, it was just what's gonna be the least controversial when we put these together to get them in place so that we can work with our existing problems that exist now, just getting us up to status quo with a lot of these changes. So that's why they were there.
I think I've heard that we want to go beyond just the status quo and what we want to take that leap forward, I think.
Yeah, but even that going forward, there's a timetable, so it's not overnight.
Yes.
There's room to learn and grow.
So yes, if there are 2,200 people who work for the city of Gainesville. If the message grows here and we all learn how these new systems can work, then we carry that into the community and it helps spread the message. We talk about it at home, it gets spread around, and then we are, the workers in the city of Gainesville, all of us, are the best engagement and communication system we have. And if we learn how it works and we carry that message with us, that's a great first start. It's not like we're working with 40 or 50 people. This is a major workforce, and we carry the message into the community.
I just always like to practice what I preach, and I don't want somebody to say, hey, why are you telling us as a business to do it, and you're not even doing it in the city?
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure.
At the other end, to help y'all get what I think we're trying to achieve is, once we get past this and give y'all the marching orders, and which then has to go to the commission also, but we're only going to get one bite at this apple. Once we've sunset this committee and moved on, getting it done again in a year is just unlikely. So while we're doing it, I'd rather overreach a little bit and get pushed back down than saying we'll catch that up later, and then 25 years from now, somebody's having a discussion.
Why do they do that?
I'll still be around, maybe.
And then I'll be calling into city meetings and saying,
When I'm
we
with-
told you!
Do you want to jump onto the zero waste subcommittee? It's not zero waste, send a letter as well. You guys have that in front of you. It's in the email.
Yes, I have it somewhere.
Or if you all have any other sheets and stuff too that you guys wanted to talk about, Commissioner Sacco, did you have anything that?
No, I think it was good. I mean, I like the additions.
Okay.
I like, my concerns were on like timetable
Okay.
and enforcement,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
clearing those up were good.
Let's go through this all, the zero waste Gainesville's recommendation.
The name.
Yeah, I think a zero waste ordinance or universal zero waste or something like that is probably the best.
What is it named now?
Solid waste disposal.
I mean,
We don't really have
accurate.
names for ordinances too much, but
Yeah, I have, no, I'm not the creative one, so if y'all want to get creative or take one of these, I'm good with them.
Other cities that have done kind of these larger remakes in recent years have called it like zero waste ordinance or universal zero waste ordinance or something like that. I don't know if staff has any thoughts on
Yeah,
what to call it. Okay.
we'll be creative.
Yeah. Asking in the whereas section to
Reference
include
nature.
that in there. I'm fine with that, I guess. I don't, there aren't too many whereases, but I'm good with adding something to that respect to kind of showing that we did make that commitment, I guess.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Creating a training outreach program that provides information to each sector, commercial, multifamily, regarding their requirements and their timeline to implement the zero waste ordinance. I think that's going to be absolutely necessary. We're going to have to turn some of these legalese into actual,
Here's a pamphlet.
here's the guidelines for you, and this is in real language and stuff like that. So that's already planned by staff to do, or?
Yeah, we see it on the horizon. We actually are reclassifying a position. We're going to get a recycling specialist, so I think get a little more outreach.
Okay.
So I think we're moving in that direction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, without an FTE working
Yeah.
on this, somebody whose mission it is to get the,
And as people retire in my division, we're kind of reevaluating each one and kind of reorienting it towards this committee and what their wishes are.
and I'm trying to say this more regularly now. When we give you a task that needs more resources, tell us you need the resources.
We shall.
It's not a guarantee, but if we don't know,
Right.
we can't help you.
We can take it.
Okay,
We'll
good.
try after.
The next line they have, that was already getting taken care of. Next line is to incorporate additional upstream zero waste principles in the ordinance, require the creation of reuse programs that connects and incentivizes business and residents to reduce waste through reuse.
I
Require,
think we covered these. I think at least one and two we definitely covered.
yeah. So I think the grocery stores and the stores that sellable food was actually, stores that sell food was actually
Broader than grocery.
broader than grocery store. I think I was talking with them, they were talking about,
Convenience stores and gas stations.
I don't know about convenience stores and gas stations, because those are, I think, they sell so little that it probably is harder, I think it was.
I mean, Wawa sells a good bit of it.
Yeah, I
So
guess
does
that's
racetrack.
Gig
Yeah.
eats and Wawa's
Yeah.
and racetracks,
I guess it was those two. It was like bakeries that are selling foods and stuff like that. Like they have food for sale in a bakery and it has to go to the, gets thrown away.
But I also question how big that footprint is, because if it's a bakery, it's more than likely like a local bakery.
Mhm.
They're not overproducing to then throw out.
Sometimes, maybe. I guess, I don't know what your thoughts are of maybe putting this as one of the, not as like the first year in the rollout, but maybe like year 3 or 4, it gets
Expanded.
expanded to stores that sell sellable food, so it would expand to places that are doing more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can move that forward.
You want to say like 2024? 2025?
I would say 5.
Okay. All right, create an adaptive reuse program which would facilitate the reuse of existing but underutilized buildings. I mean, we're talking about construction and demolition later, but we also, I mean, we do have the historic preservation program that we, CRA, that it's kind of a hard thing. I spoke to him too about this, kind of a hard thing to put into
Yeah.
exact terms.
Right, and while I understand it being in the zero waste discussion, it's a sustainable development issue. And it's very much not a Florida thing. You know, we are conditioned to, if a building's 20, 25 years old, it's time to pull out the bulldozer and start over. I mean, it really is a conditioning issue.
Well, a lot of them aren't built for lasting 100
Right.
years. I mean,
There's not, yeah.
they shouldn't be around in 50, I mean, they'll fall apart.
But it's visiting other cities that are often not as, that have less history than Gainesville, feel often like they have much more history because they do creatively reuse structures rather than say, this building was garbage in the first place, so let's move on and make it garbage. And that is just so common for our understanding of things as Floridians, that that's a difficult road to go down. It's something we do need to go down, but it is part of who we are in Florida, unfortunately.
The next one is include requirements for food-based businesses, office and retail to separate recycling compostable from their trash.
Yeah,
We
you
covered that.
covered that with your,
This would actually be somewhat slight, where they have to actually sort it out. So, I'm supportive of that change, and if you all are in support of that.
I think that's gonna be a really tough thing for people, actually.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the hill I want to die on.
Okay.
They will, like, business owners will. They're like, we're already recycling for you. You want us to sort it too?
We can get that for now. And then the case of multifamily residential areas, the recycling trash containers do not fit in one enclosed area, provide signage or location of additional bins.
You covered
I
that.
think we covered that with, it has to have like appropriate spacing and letting people know where it is.
Okay.
So,
All right. So I think we've gone over things. Are there any other from staff or things from the commission or the committee on this?
anything you want us to stop doing or saying?
No. But what do you think the next steps are? So you want us to go back and kind of rework what we had previously done?
Yeah, so I think I'd like for us to put together a motion with all of these kind of changes, and then if the committee agrees to those, and you come back work on those,
Yep.
and then we would schedule, I guess, a larger public hearing and have that, I think, speak with the communication staff about that townhouse meeting. Hey, this is where the zero waste. Please come back and give us your feedback kind of meeting. Does that sound good to the committee? Okay.
Because it still hasn't gone to the city attorney's office. It's
No,
still you guys.
this is just our
Okay.
rough drafts.
Very good effort.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll go through the kind of ones that I believe the committee agreed to. Number one of that list.
Prescription
You wanna-
disposal?
You might bring it up and then we can,
Oh, yeah, I apologize.
and, was that a PDF or a doc that I sent you?
Well, I only have the PDF
Oh,
up.
shoot, okay. I don't think I have the doc.
I can try to pull it up real quick and,
It's all right, yeah, I think we
are
can.
you sure?
Yeah, if we just bring that up, then we can, there's only a couple changes.
Okay.
So the first one, I don't think we didn't make any changes to that one. The second one, we removed create an overlay district for downtown and midtown that restricts businesses from putting out waste, or what did we change that one to? We just said that they.
Business is restricted from trash on right of way and it will be enforced,
April 1st, 2023.
yes.
Okay. You get that?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, we didn't change. Number 4,
We
we
scrapped.
cut. Number 5, we didn't change. Number 6, we didn't change. Number 7 didn't change. Number 8, we added that must be provided. So like
Yes, there was a typo.
it was on the landlords, not on the
Right.
the tenants themselves. Number 9 didn't change. Number 10 said that
City would designate
yeah,
color
colors.
coding and signage for
Mhm.
waste containers.
Yeah. And other, so we kind of put that into the policy. Maybe saying like color, signage, other things that we may do in there that we have allowed, the
And
commission
other
has given you the ability
information
to.
as needed.
Yeah. Number 11, we didn't change. Number 12, we changed the last line to expanded polystyrene instead of single-use plastic bags. Number 13,
We pulled out.
you can pull that out, okay.
14 we pulled out. Wait, no, sorry.
No, it's 13.
Sorry. 14, 15 we pulled out.
14, 15, we're gonna
For
we'll talk about our
such-
next committee meeting.
Yeah.
We'll talk about reuse more.
Okay.
And then 13, we said we wanted to cut completely?
No,
Sorry, no.
it was city partner
Supplemental education programming with the reuse economy, partner with programs, however you want to phrase that. Yeah, to do partnership and programming of that.
I feel like 13, 14, and 15 all need the.
The extra
go
attention.
with-
Okay.
They're the same conversation.
They are. So 13, 14, 15, we'll hold to the next committee meeting, and we'll talk about reuse again, kind of dive deeper into that.
That dumpster diving?
We will. We can do a field trip from the city. Number 16, we kept the same, but I think we're going to add one thing from the Zero Waste Subcommittee, a Zero Waste Gainesville letter, that we would have that go into effect in 2023, and then stores with sellable food would go into effect 2025. So the expanded number of businesses would be 2025. Number 17 and 18 we cut. Number 19 kept the same. Number 20 we said by 2025 for all businesses compost. And then going to the zero waste Gainesville letter, the zero waste ordinance, we would call it something called zero waste ordinance, but we'll still kind of come back with some. Add the whereas about how we adopted resolution and then we're going towards zero waste. Create a training and outreach program. And then I think that was, is that everything? Okay. Is there a motion or a second?
So
Second?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to direct staff to make those following changes to the ordinance and then to bring those back to a meeting a month from now. And that meeting from a month now will be more of a town hall meeting that we'll stream and try to get the public to as much as possible to get their feedback on this larger ordinance. And then we also will place the reuse items on the next Zero Waste Committee for further discussion.
You want me to invite maybe someone also from Mighty Harvest or someone like that, if you want to have a second item on?
Yeah, I think that'd be for the, which portion?
For the next one?
For reuse or for food?
Food, or you just want to stick with reuse
The
on the next
food,
meeting?
this is just for reuse. The food
Okay.
is where I think we're gonna move forward on. Once
Okay.
we pass a law, then that's when we're gonna say, hey, come
Got
work
it.
together.
Okay, sounds good.
But for the next one, yeah, if we could invite
I'll get as many
people, the
reuse
reuse
here.
people,
Yeah.
or, yeah. And also, I think inviting the North Central Florida Apartment Association representative as well, I think would be good to get their feedback on that too.
Okay.
All right, is there any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor?
I
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 3-0 with Ariel and dissent.
have to,
Or dissent, sorry,
careful.
I apologize. All right, any other discussion on that zero waste ordinance update? So now we'll move on to the food waste pilot update.
Tom Strickland again, here to report on the pilot food waste program. Wait, it's there. Okay, we can go on to slide 2. Some general information about the grant, just to review. USDA, put this grant out there for government programs, local governments to host a waste reduction pilot programs for food waste. Cooperative agreement for compost plans, and then the basic time frame was from October of last year through September of next year. And we were awarded, there was about 15 projects awarded nationwide. At that time, you can only get one per state. So for example, if we got it, no other ones in Florida can get it. I think they removed that on the next version of their grant program. So our project goals were to determine the viability of residential of collecting residential food waste in this area? Is there a cost reduction through density of service? Measuring the volume of food waste generated by residential homes. We don't really have that information, at least what the volume is that they're willing to separate. Provide a quality compost product to the local growers, and as well as utilization of the community composters as a whole in the area and in the United States. Seeing if this is something that smaller companies could do without necessarily having to get big haulers involved. Some of the benefits of the program, obviously, we're going to hopefully expand our local compost infrastructure. We're going to engage the public on food waste strategies and composting, and we're also going to, it's just kind of a starting point. You have to get started somewhere, so let's get started. Some basic budget items of the program. You'll see it was a 75-25 funding split. So far, we've mostly spent the 75 part of it, not so much the 25 part of it, but we're getting there. So just basic separation of some of the budgets there. It's not a huge grant, that's for sure. The timelines, we started with the grant period in October, and then for the next few months we did development of the program, getting everything ready, ordering supplies, deciding on the pilot zones and mapping those areas, and working with the contractor on what areas, how far west is he willing to go, because he is on the far east side, and figuring that out. Completing the contracts. We announced the program at the beginning of February as far as signups go, and then we delivered the items at the end of March, and started the program the first Tuesday of April, and we've been running weekly service every Tuesday for all the pilot areas since then, and we'll continue to do that through the end of the grant period in September. There's basically 4 pilot areas. You'll see those neighborhoods listed there. We kind of phased them in as we were promoting. For example, we weren't sure what our sign-up rates were going to be for Sugarfoot, the first area. So we waited to see what our sign-up rate was for them. And then as we kind of saw that, we were able to quickly promote to the next zone and to the next zone until we get the 200 or so that we were looking to sign up. Weren't sure. Maybe we did Sugarfoot, we got 200 people, and we'd stop in zone 1. We didn't think that would happen, but just in case, we didn't want to over-promote the program, because the grant really only allows us to provide enough funding for 200 homes over this time period. So, and we also decided on Tuesday, because that was the day that the contractor, Beaten Path Compost, had available to do the collection, and it worked out well with the service day. Some have it the day before their trash day, some have it on their trash day, so we're going to see which is better for people, and evaluating that with them. Obviously, after February, you'll see the number of signups went up, and it's kind of been steady, right just below 200. We've tried to punch out those last few, or 7 or 8 spots. We're still working on it. We've had some move-ins and some move-outs, and some fill-ins and some fill-outs, so we're still trying to keep that number up. We're at 192 as of today. We launched the program. We went out with Beaten Path Compost. We delivered the yellow compost buckets. They have a lid on them. I should have brought samples. I didn't think about it. We also have a 2-gallon kitchen compost pail that they have that came with them on delivery. They also got a service guide that's on it, and the service guide was printed and had a magnet on the back so they could keep it, stick it up in their house to read it again. And then each week, the full bucket, or with the food waste in it, gets exchanged for a clean, empty one. So that's how that works. That way they don't have to have specialized collection vehicles in order to service it. They just need a regular pickup truck and they can do it, and for that. So our program partners are Beaten Path Compost. They're our contractor for the collection service. as well as the processing of the material, food waste, and then remarketing that final compost product. We also brought on board Grow Hub, because they own the space where Peat Path Compost is located. And then also Working Food, we worked with them on developing some educational materials, and they've also provided at least one workshop to date, and then maybe more workshops throughout time, which are required by the grant for us to do that. Okay. Did I skip something?
You might have missed the educational material, but they're pretty self-explanatory, I think.
Okay, I'm behind.
I did skip over the educational material.
I think I understand what an OOPS tag is.
You want me to go back to educational material?
Yeah, let's go back. Yeah, there we go. That's fine. You can see we had a decal that went on the bucket as well as the kitchen pail. And then we also had a follow-up piece later on, which was just distributed out about love food, hate waste, and it was about tips for reducing waste around your home and so forth. Because, you know, we're not just encouraging you to compost, we're also encouraging you to make less waste in general. So we had a lot of different educational materials went out there. And we feel the educational materials have worked pretty well because our contamination rate is 0. So that's pretty positive there. I want to move on to some of the photos.
I just want to say one thing on the
Sure.
on signs like that. I think are very useful on like recycling and container. I mean, it's very easily to figure out what needs to go there and not go in there. And I feel like that's where we've struggled with. I mean, on some of the containers, we have a list of just printed stuff. And it's,
Right. I've had great success with not only just images, but particularly photos.
yeah.
Sometimes you have a little picture of a little bottle, a drawing.
Yeah.
It's not really as identifiable. And especially also I try to, you'll even notice in our recycling photos that we use, I try to pick local items as well. And I try to stick a couple of those in so they're at least a little more familiar with what those materials are. There's a lot of stock photos there because it's food waste. But yeah, I really have a lot of success with images with some text in it. So, okay, scroll up a couple slides.
Oh, up?
You're down.
Down. Newer slides.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's some photos of the compost operation. One of the Peat Path staff was there emptying out the buckets. That's kind of the compost pile steaming up from the heat, and he's turning it. And then there's another loading up a local farmer with some compost there, selling it to market. So, yeah, okay, so we lost one home this week. Person moved to Newberry, so we're at 192. Our average set-out rate is pretty good at about just under 80%. That means each week, 80% of the people are setting out the yellow bucket. That's a weekly set-out rate. Participation rate's a little higher because somebody might miss a week here or there, or so forth, the participation. We've gone out and done we haven't been able to inspect every single container every single week, but I've been able to do some randomly sampling a few times out in the field. And to date, every time I open up a bucket, I check for fullness, but also contamination. And I got these really great OOPS tags that are like Post-it notes that can stick on the lids. I never get to use them because there's no contamination in there. However, I have heard from my composter collector that it's increased over the last couple of weeks where some compostable containers that aren't really compostable in there, so I'm going to look for some more of those next time I'm out there. But we've been able to compost about a little over 9.5 tons of food waste. When you do the EPA calculations, that turns out to be 665 gallons of gas or 246 cylinders of propane. So that's just in the first few months and just for 200 homes. So you can see if this expands out with more homes and more people, those greenhouse gas emissions will add up there. So some of the program challenges, we anticipated contamination would be an issue. but it turns out that it hasn't really been the case. People really been paying attention to the educational materials. We also send out a monthly email to all the participants, sort of an update on encouragement for the program, maybe some stuff we didn't think about in the first initial service guide that we want to reiterate. Holiday collection was a big issue because we still pick up on Tuesday, whether it's a holiday week or not. So we wanted to make sure people still understood that. But our contamination has been very minimal, or hasn't been identified yet. We started off with the program. We were going to have a $50 participation fee in with it. That was $50 over the entire 18 months, which came out to like 60 cents a week. That wasn't overly well received in the sense of the signups weren't exactly flying in. And after we launched those first couple mailers, we figured that out. And that money was going to be to supplement the program, maybe to expand the number of homes, or to expand the service period to a longer period. So we just dropped that and then kept it at 200 homes. People just didn't want to pay for the program. They're like, well, I'm giving you my good food waste. But I was like, you were throwing it away before. But still, nonetheless, it encourages them to participate. We thought if they paid, then they'd be even more incentive to participate. But, you learn as you go along. We also found out that in the Sugarfoot neighborhood, there was apparently a big promotion about a decade or so ago with the city and county encouraging them to backyard compost. Well, that program worked pretty well because a lot of them are backyard composting. So we found out, we didn't know that going in. A lot of them are backyard composting. So that was a challenge there. Another challenge we had of late was just some missing yellow buckets. We don't know if they're just popular with people driving by and they see a nice yellow empty bucket and taking it, or whether sometimes they just forget to leave a yellow empty bucket. It's hard to tell the difference between those two. So we're working on, it's gone down substantially over the last month or so, the number of missing yellow buckets. So I think the next slide. Here's some sample comments from the public. You can see they're all pretty positive. I mean, these are people who are in the program. These are people who are in the program. We got a lot of comments where I wish I was in the program that didn't make it in here. But I think so far people really enjoy being in the program. We've gotten very good positive responses. The one person that did move to Newberry was very disappointed at the fact that they weren't going to get to continue on with the program. So I think that's about it. So any questions?
Commissioner Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's open air buckets.
They have a lid.
They have a lid. And how does the lid fit? I mean, is it really?
It's a tight fitting lid, but it's form fitting. I should have brought it with. It's easy to press. It's a press
Bring
on.
one next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a press on lid. It's easy to come off. It's easy to go on, but once it's on, it stays on.
Okay. So I'm concerned about, or I'm curious about the animals getting into the buckets. How does that? Are we attracting animals?
So far, no issues with that. The bucket lid stays on pretty tight. Doesn't really emit any odors once it's on. It's a press-on, tight-fitting lid and snapped on. I mean, I suppose there could be some clever critters out there that could pull it off, but I think most people are storing it inside their garage or something. They're not storing it outside except on collection days or setting it out the night before. To my knowledge, it hasn't been an issue yet. There's some internal fruit flies maybe that might develop. Flies generally develop over trash because of meat, but we're not taking meat in this program.
Right.
For fruit flies, we are taking fruit. Maybe some of that, but they do get a clean bucket every time.
Okay.
So every week we swap out that one, and it's not, they rinse it out and clean it. It's not necessarily soap and water clean,
No,
but
but
it's pretty clean. And so they get it every week. That problem kind of solves itself. The only thing is their indoor small kitchen pail, they may have to rinse that out every now and then.
Right.
or use a paper bag to line it or something.
Right. So, I mean, to this point, obviously, it's people using it really want to be using it, because they signed up, so they're unlikely to complain. And as we grow that out, I want to try to meet the problems before they happen. You know, we don't want people complaining about their neighbors composting because it's drawing animals, you know, and that kind of thing. So any issues we see, I want to meet quickly.
I think with this particular bucket program, it's not going to be an issue. I think the only problem we've had is the people not in the program who steal other people's yellow buckets.
Right. So you're picking up, you're not dumping the bucket into
Correct.
the thing, you're taking the whole
Whole
bucket
bucket in
and
the
swapping
lid,
it
and they get
out.
a new bucket in the lid, or
So
a clean bucket in the lid.
That's, I had early visions of, you know, you're dumping it there and there's some liquid that comes with it and it just, yeah, it could create a mess. But if the sealed container going into the truck and leaving a clean container, then that keeps that from happening.
Right. Well, the concept behind that also was not only that, but then the hauler doesn't have to have specialized equipment. He doesn't have to have a lift truck or lift gates. You can do it all in a pickup truck with a little bit of sidewalls on the pickup truck. It doesn't need to have specialized equipment.
And as we expand the program out, is that sustainable? Is that something we can continue to do with just like?
Sure. You know, I would think at this point, Eaton Path Compost could take a certain amount of more food waste and more material. They can only expand so far given their limited space out there. I think it's very service intensive with having to have somebody switch out the buckets and then clean out the buckets. It can be replicated and expanded, but to what point I do not know. I think ideally an automated cart system with a collection vehicle, you know, would be ideal if you were to go citywide. But we can expand this program out to other entities that a cart program may not work for. We put in an application for the same this year to do some testing out at some multifamily properties. And we may do that anyway using this program, or we probably are going to do it, using this type of program with the switching the containers and so forth. So it might work, you know, in certain environments like that. And like I said, the advantage is you're getting the weekly collection and you're getting a clean bucket back. With any compost program, you can't go more than a week without collection. It has to be weekly. Sometimes, you know, depending on if it's commercial, how much volume it is, has to be more than once a week. But I don't think you can, with compost, you can't go less than once a week. Recycling services, a dumpster full of cardboard, that can be every other week if it's not filled up because it's just cardboard. But food waste can't wait a week, more than a week to be picked up.
Okay.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you. It looks great.
Okay. We're it's thrilled with how successful it's going so far.
Anything, Commissioner Sacco?
Do you have spare buckets? I mean, you can't service my house, it's completely outside of that area.
We anticipated some loss of buckets. We ordered more than what we needed. We do not have an extensive supply because we did have a rash of bucket pirates, as I call them, early on.
Like porch pirates?
So we had some of those missing. So our supplies have dwindled a little bit, but we're not short, we're not out, but we didn't anticipate the loss of buckets early on.
Never mind, I was gonna suggest leaving one in our little lobby space,
Okay.
but never mind, it seems like you're running on a tight budget there.
Yeah, we're tight on some, we have exactly what we need.
Okay,
But you can bring one in next meeting, just
Sure.
to do a little show and tell.
Okay,
just to show off what we
absolutely.
can have.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on this item? And he said it was an 18-month pilot, is that correct?
Correct.
That they're funding. And just, it was $50, now it's at $0, is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
All right, nothing else on this. We'll move to public comment.
Public?
Don't see any public comment, so we'll move to member comment. No member comment. We'll move to the next meeting, which is August 17th. We're going to chat about reuse on that meeting. invite our reuse partners, and then also the North Central Florida Apartment
Yeah.
Association. And then the C&D, are you ready to have that discussion at that point, or no?
No, we're gonna circle back around
Okay.
to sustainable development. We're gonna make that a priority now.
Okay. And then the next meeting after that is August 31st, which will be the town hall kind of
Yes.
meeting, and bring back those changes to that one. If you can have the city attorney help you, I don't, if you can, that'd be great, because it'd be a little further along. But I think on that meeting, we'll just schedule just that, I don't know, we'll see what we have next meeting. But yeah, the goal is for that to be the main subject area. I don't know how many people actually come.
We're gonna be surprised.
Yeah.
At a 2 PM on a Tuesday?
I mean, we could move it to the evening if that's something that the committee wants to do, that 31st meeting.
I think moving it closer to the evening makes it more accessible.
Okay, do you want to, like 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock on that Tuesday?
Or, we don't normally put this one on Facebook, do we?
No, but this next one, the town hall 31st one, we are gonna put on Facebook, and we're gonna do.
I meant so
Yeah.
they don't feel forced to have to come in here, but they could follow along. Okay.
Do we want to do that at 5:30, 6, 5?
I'd say 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock? Okay.
You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
So the August 31st meeting will be at 6 PM? All right. All right, with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you
All
guys.
right,
Thank
good
you.
deal. Thank you.